The member from Ramsey, the author of the bill, Representative Moller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I wanted to just address one of the comments that was made that the pendulum has swung too far in favor of employees. And I'm going to read to you a portion of the concurring opinion from Justice Paul Anderson in a case from 2013. He said, "When I first became an appellate judge in 1992, I believed that our jurisprudence was irrevocably and steadfastly headed down a one-way path toward ending sexual harassment in the workplace. I also believe that the policies of our state and the jurisprudence of our court, when implemented, would ensure that all citizens of our state, male or female, young or old, rich or poor, would someday work in a state where sexually harassing conduct is no longer tolerated under the law. I came to this view based on cases like Continental Can from 1980 and the legislative acts that followed that case. I was also much encouraged by the attitudinal changes I saw in the workplace. Yet, more than 2 decades later, as my service as an appellate judge draws to a close, I am concerned that the opinion the majority renders today signifies a step backwards on what I once believed was a one-way path toward ending sexual harassment in the workplace." So members, we aren't there. And many of us who, all of us who served in the Judiciary and Civil Law Committee heard testimony from a brave survivor, and her name is Amy. And I'm gonna, because not many of you were on that committee, I'm gonna tell you about the story that Amy shared with us about the sexual harassment she encountered recently in the workplace. Amy was a server at a restaurant for about 9 years. And one day when she went to work, some people that she didn't recognize, 2 men, asked that she serve them. And it was kind of strange, but after that, the men started coming into the restaurant at least weekly. They would always ask to sit in Amy's section. They told her they had a crush on her, even though they found out she had a boyfriend. And one night, neither man had come into the restaurant, and Amy got off her shift, and she went out to the car that was her car that was parked in the corner of the parking lot. And as she was about to sit down, a truck quickly approached her car, blocked her car in. One of the men from the restaurant had jumped out of his truck and left his truck running and the door open and started shouting her name. Amy, of course, was very alarmed, and luckily other servers were in the parking lot, and they kind of came to her rescue, and all 3 of them were fearful that Amy was going to be abducted that night. Amy told the men not to follow her to her car again. She was afraid they would even follow her home. Now, Amy reported this to management and the general manager and said that she did not want to serve the men anymore, and the management told her they had to because they requested her. Employees and even the managers at the restaurant started referring to these men as her stalkers. The behavior of the men escalated. 2 more times they stalked her in the parking lot. On one of those occasions, the managers allowed them to wait inside the lobby for 2 hours until Amy started her shift. And then they came out, approached her in the parking lot, and yet management still made Amy wait on them that night. On another occasion, one of the men said he would drive by and see her car in the parking lot, so he knew exactly when she was going to be working. The behavior also became physical. He would pat at her hands and her arms as she put dishes on the tables. The managers saw it. She continued to tell the management she didn't want to serve them, and she was told that if she didn't serve the men, then her shift would have to end. Amy said, "The managers routinely made me choose between being able to pay for rent and food and being sexually harassed, assaulted, and stalked, all while calling these men my stalkers." The stalkers also tried to force hugs on Amy whenever they left the restaurant, and she would hide in the kitchen. She would have other servers try to take care of her other tables, but the stalkers would wait on her, and management would make her go out and say goodbye to the men and would watch to make sure that she did that. Amy, of course, saw that management wasn't going to do anything, and so she ended up getting an order for protection to keep the men out of the restaurant. And she told the general manager about the order for protection, but he refused to share that information with any of the other managers in order to keep these men out of the restaurant. So Amy at that point, and by the way, this harassing behavior happened for about a year, she said, at least weekly. So this happened over a long period of time. And eventually Amy did seek out an attorney, and they did file a lawsuit, but nothing ever came of it because it was dismissed on summary judgment, and the judge found that the conduct was not severe or pervasive. Members, Amy bravely came forward to share her story with us, knowing that any change to the law would not help her, but would help the next victim of sexual assault. By voting green today, members, we are taking affirmative action about the Me Too movement by saying no more. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 113 ayes and 10 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to.